4 minutes before the bottom of the hour to another Fox News alert. A 49-year-old man fined and released after police say they caught him with loaded illegal guns and a fake press pass near Donald Trump's Saturday rally in Coachella, California. Meanwhile, the suspect maintaining his innocence, telling Fox News Digital, quote, "I always travel with my firearms in the back of my truck. I've literally never even shot a gun. I'm the last person that would cause any violence and harm to anybody. I'm 100% a Trump supporter. This is a man I deeply admire." Riverside County, California Sheriff Chad Bianco joins us now. Sheriff, do you believe him? Is that why he's out?
I mean, no, that's not why he is out. I certainly read his statements, and they're believable statements. But and I hope that was the case for his sake. But it doesn't change the fact that he brought the guns onto a Trump rally, and he was stopped before he got inside.
Right. Inside his car were rifles and guns unregistered, were passports with different names. He had a phony license plate, and inside the SUV, it was all torn up. He had a lot of explaining to do. What did you do when you began to unravel what he might have been up to?
Well, quite honestly, at the time with President Trump arriving, as you can imagine, it's not a calm scene. It's a very chaotic scene with people trying to get in there and vehicles coming in and the president on his way. So the original deputy that stopped him and talked to him and noticed all these things and eventually ended up getting his consent to search the vehicle, located all of these items. So had he not had that encounter with that deputy, he certainly would have been on the grounds. Where he would have more than likely ended up was probably only a few couple hundred yards from the stage where President Trump eventually was. But that's all. I mean, that's all speculation. We don't know because we did our job and we stopped him from getting on the grounds in the first place.
You indicated in some of your comments afterwards the federal government didn't get involved. Federal law enforcement did not get involved. But do you think you possibly stopped a third assassination attempt?
You know, in our minds, we did. That's what we were set up there for. We were set up to stop and prevent anyone from coming on the grounds like happened the last time. And it worked. You know, there's a lot of speculation that, you know, he's just an innocent person, and he very well could be with his intentions to not. He had no intention to harm the president. But out of the, you know, between the 25 and the 50, depending on the numbers that you're hearing, 1,000 people that came to the rally, only one brought guns. And so we were thankful that our deputy found him and he was removed before the president even got there.
So you think 50,000 people came there, you were able to secure it, you're very proud of that, and you should be. But when you get him in jail and you detain him, why is he out today? Because it seems there's a very little, just this, what we're talking about now, I would think if I was doing that, I'd be still in jail.
Well, in hindsight, I mean, it's probably for the rest of the country, it's hard to believe that when we arrest people, they don't stay in jail. But that's a fact of life here in California. And those crimes that we arrested him for were misdemeanors, and we do not hold misdemeanors in custody. So he was giving a citation to appear at a later date. And I've been told, I don't know the date, but I think it's after January. It's after the new year. So we've been dealing with bad law enforcement policy for decades in California, and unfortunately, the whole world sees it now.
I mean, the frustration must be overwhelming because you're doing your job and you're not allowed to by the idiotic laws you're forced to live by. But let's look at this right now. Do we know anything about Vem Miller, his background? Does he have a history? He says he was a Hollywood guy who changed his beliefs because of his homogenous community, or something to that effect. What else do we know about him?
Well, for us, we know very little. And I think a lot of the problem that we are seeing now is the social media world is just taking on a life of its own. And of course, this is big news, but a lot of people fill in blanks where there are blanks, and most of the time they're wrong or they add things. One of the things that led to this controversy is he had a license plate on his vehicle that was unregistered, which is strange. And then the license plate was indicative of people that adhere to a sovereign citizen is what we refer to them as. I think they refer to themselves as that belief in that the government rules and laws don't apply to them. And he had a license plate on his car that was this indicative being used by those people. So by saying that, and here it's a little bit of a detriment to law enforcement, to me, when we try and be as open as we possibly can, that's misconstrued later on. And so I never said that he was part of that group. I said it's indicative of that group of people that believe like that. But at the time, we knew nothing about him. That's up to the FBI to find out his background and what he was involved in, if anything. And I'm sure that will come out later. But all we can go off of is what we see at the time and what we know. And what we know now is the only thing that we could arrest him for was those weapons violations.
Do we know that's his real name?
I couldn't tell you what his real name is. The only thing I can say for sure is this is a personal belief. The identifications, the different identifications that he had, Vem was consistent. So I'm sure his name is Vem, but there were different names and different variations of Miller or other names. And so I honestly couldn't tell you what his real name is.
See, I thought you could keep him for 48 hours, and being that there's so many questions about him, being how well armed he is, and the lies that he's happy, the different IDs he's happy to use, the different passports he had on him. I mean, this whole thing's reek of suspicion. Any one of these things seems overwhelmingly reason to keep him detained, but you say your hands are tied.
Well, yes, I don't want to say our hands are tied. I'm telling you that, unfortunately or fortunately for him, unfortunately for us, in California, that's all we can hold him for is the weapons charges, and it's a misdemeanor. And it is a sad fact that we can't hold misdemeanors in jail. They're released with citations. So I think he did go to jail. He was booked, but I believe he was only there for 4 to 6 hours and then cited and released. So the ultimate goal was to stop him from getting inside and then get him away from the event. So the event was safe. The attendees were safe. Our former president was safe. And then any follow-up that's going to happen concerning the passports, concerning his intent, that can be done later.
Yeah, he's safe because you did your job. That's it. Sheriff.
We hope so. I'm certainly proud of the deputies, what they did, and catching this and before he got those guns inside was good.
All right, Sheriff Bianco, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We'll look to see who Vem Miller really is. Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.